Hi, I just got back from the gym. I did a bunch of push ups, and I did some leg presses, and I did some ab work. It was good. I was on the bike for a while. Feeling good. Feeling like I made good choices today. But did I? So I made this video on Vlogbrothers where I talk about. So I just want to be very clear. If you haven't watched that video, it's over there. It's about how I react to the potential reality that I am incapable of making a decision, and that free will doesn't exist, and that all of my choices are predetermined by some combination of chemical and physical factors. This like all of the things that have happened to me and all of my body stuff all combine to make every decision predictable with a good enough computer, sans some conversations about quantum fluctuations and randomness that actually might make that impossible, but it would not make it impossible in a way that actually gives me free will. It would just make it impossible in a way that would not allow a computer simulation to know what decision I would make, because there are quantum fluctuations and they may impact my decision making, but not in a way that I control. Anyway, it's interesting to me that that the comments of that video, and this is certainly not like a overwhelming thing, but it is, some comments on that video are focused on discussing whether or not we have free will. I should have maybe in that video done a couple of like, of course this is still a thing that people talk about and aren't sure of, and like what we know about the physical universe is not a complete story, and anyone who proposes that it is not doing a good job of science communication, which maybe I wasn't doing, because that wasn't really the point of the video. But there's a fair amount of conversation about whether or not we have free will in the comments of that video. And sometimes people, I don't know, it's okay. I don't mind when people come at me with like a sort of forceful opinion, because obviously I'm standing on a pedestal, and so when I talk quietly down, to shout loudly back up is not an unexpected consequence of the power imbalance there. But it seems a little bit sometimes when I'm reading it one-on-one, just a little bit not considering my feelings. Or the way that you would have a conversation with a person who was standing in front of you, I guess is how I would say it. It is different than that. I guess part of what I feel about this is that I don't care. Like, I don't care if I have free will. I don't want to know. I have read things that basically say, yeah, you don't, and the smart pants over there is pretty sure about that. And then there's lots of philosophical debate about it. But what I feel pretty strongly is that if I'm going to go look at the philosophical literature, what I know I'm going to find out is that nobody's sure. And what I might find out is there's one of two things. One, I could sort of like get myself convinced that free will doesn't exist, which isn't going to affect me at all, hopefully, because if it does, then I'm like, am I actually responsible for my decisions? Is anyone responsible for their decisions? Do we have a right to punish people for doing the things that they did if they don't have a responsibility for their decisions? No, that's not how humanity works. I know that when I get up in the morning, I make a bunch of decisions. I chose to go to the gym. I chose to do that. I chose to do something that was healthy for myself, that was going to make me feel better throughout the day. And when like 2 o'clock or 1:30 hits, I'm going to be hungry, and it's going to be like, because I worked hard, and I'm going to enjoy that food, and it's going to feel good to have that burrito when my body is like, yeah, you did a physical activity, and I want to make decisions, like I want to go outside and do outsidey things because I know that's good for my mental health because I read it somewhere, probably in a crash course or a SciShow script. Like, we are responsible for our decisions, obviously. And if you take determinism to that extreme end and say like, well, I guess anarchy then, no. And also, like, it's because we have to have societal structures that tell people that they are responsible for their decisions, and that hold people responsible for their decisions, because maybe if we didn't, people wouldn't make as good decisions. And also, I think that we need to, as individuals who are making good decisions, see that there are consequences for people who make bad decisions. And also, people who might be affected by those bad decisions need to see that there are consequences for those bad decisions. Anyway, don't take determinism all the way to its logical end there. But the other thing that could happen if I'm reading the philosophical literature is that I could just let my sort of like my bias determine for me that I like, boy, it sure does make a lot more sense when I'm reading the thing that sort of like conforms with how I see the world, which is that I make freaking decisions. Like I make decisions and everybody knows that and the people around me make decisions. And so my lived experience is going to help confirm for me any philosopher who is arguing that determinism isn't real and that we do have free will in some way. And then after that conversation, I'm going to live my life exactly the same way. The question is, is all knowledge necessary? I find that question very interesting. And so that is the question that I was ultimately trying to pose, and the one that I don't see being discussed in the comments of that video is like if we could objectively know for sure that free will doesn't exist, would that be useful knowledge? Would that be a thing that would help me or hurt me? And I feel like if we knew for sure, there's that binary there. Either I do or I don't. And if I didn't, then if I like internalized that and was like I think that internalizing that knowledge would like whether or not I was able to affect that, it would lead to a decrease in the chances that I would have a positive day on average every day. And so I don't want to know things like that. Am I wrong about that, or am I right? Are there realities in the world that it would be better not to know? That's a hard one for me, and I think that it might not be as hard for a lot of people, but it's hard for me because like I have a pretty like my identity is tied kind of to the idea that scientific growth and scientific understanding is the path through which we progress as a species and as individuals, and certainly not the only one. I'm not saying that like great art, great literature is not part of that. But I also think that like great art and great literature is another way of discovering those things. And are there things that we can discover that are bad? Are there true things that it would be better not to know? I don't know.